Wow.
And so we were able to do it so that the tickets were very affordable. There were some VIP tickets, but general entry was €50 to get in. So and that was because we wanted to make it accessible. So when you think about what people would assume about a place like a Clos de Bugeaud, it's just not that. It's just sometimes our assumptions can keep us away from finding what's actually there. Assumptions about one another. If I have one assumption about you and you have an assumption about me, now we're operating, we're dealing with one another based on not in reality,
Right.
And that's what I've found so often. Is like once people realize like, oh, I can be comfortable and be myself around you,
Yeah.
it's all good. And that was, just one of the sorts of things that were highlighted at that event.
Wow. And when
But
is it
that
planned for this year?
October 9th. October
Okay.
9th. We ain't announced it
October
yet, so
9th. Okay.
but yeah, I can tell you. It'll happen on October 9th. Nobody don't hit me. People, so that event sold out in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
People were so mad at me that I could not get tickets. It was weird. It was like, over 500 tickets sold
Out.
24 hours in France. So that just goes to show you this is something that people are, we're all real people, and the common thread between wine, between hip hop, between culture, between all of it is just heart and intention.
Mm.
You don't have to know everything. Just be excited about it or be open to learn. And if you don't like this one thing, sure, that's fine. There's so much other wines out there that you'll probably like something.
Wow. So let's share a little bit about with your world travels. Where are some of your favorite places to enjoy wine? I know I love Italian wines; those are my favorites. I'm an Italian girl. But what are some of your favorite places to drink wine?
Well, I definitely like Burgundy. I will say, one of my AKAs is the lost son of Burgundy.
Okay.
So I love Burgundy. I also love wines from Oregon,
Okay.
wines from New York State.
Okay.
Um, if I had a preference, though, they live there. Also love port and
Yes.
wines from Portugal.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, just traveling last year, last year for most of the year I was only home for like 2 to 3 days a week, which is
Wow.
absolutely crazy because I was traveling so much. But the best trip that I had was in Portugal. Uh, Amazing wine, amazing food. Had some shout out to my peoples at Ramos Pinto. Spent the week there with them shooting some amazing content, which is actually coming out in February.
Okay.
But yeah, rode up the Douro River. We ate barnacles, which were so delicious. I know they look like little dinosaur feet,
Uh-huh.
but they're delicious.
Okay.
I'm chasing that. I'm ready to go back just for some barnacles, to be honest.
Wow.
But no, I've really really enjoyed wines out of Portugal and been amazingly surprised by what's coming out of the Douro.
Okay. Any up and coming wine country that is on your radar?
Up and coming. Well, I will say, like on that, not necessarily country, but an area that I feel is slept on, and you can even see price wise, it's
Mhm.
starting to go up. Are those still wines from the Douro
Okay.
in Portugal? Like when people think wines from Portugal, they only think about port,
Mhm.
but they have some amazing still wines, things that have great ageability. And it's such an old region. You don't think about grabbing older still wines. They only think about the older fortified wines. But for me, that's somewhere that I've enjoyed getting into. Let's see, another area. A sleeper for me has always been wines from the Jura. I've always had a love for wines from Jura. I'd like to get into there a bit more. I think that this year is probably going to be a little discovery for me on that side. But
Okay.
and I can be a little bit of a habitual drinker.
Okay.
Something
Okay.
because
I
I'm
can go
like,
with that.
yeah, I'll do. It's funny because I do events to help to educate people about wine.
Mhm.
So For example, I work with Prosecco DOC a lot, and we
Okay.
host
Love
events
Prosecco.
for National Prosecco Week. And so I'll create an event around all Prosecco, or I'll create events around specific things that I'm teaching people about. But because I'm doing so much of this so often,
Mhm.
I don't really dig into the pockets that I just feel like exploring for me,
Okay.
and so I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of that this year.
So on that note, then, is there an with that being said, is there somewhere in the world or in the U.S. that you have on your bucket list to explore that you have not explored yet?
For wine specifically, or just overall?
Wine specifically.
Okay, so for wine specifically, I definitely want to hit Germany.
Okay.
I need to dig into Germany.
Okay.
I've worked with wines of Germany a lot.
Mhm.
I have a lot of friends that are like influencers out there in Germany. I know that the hip hop scene out there is awesome.
Mhm.
I like the vibe. So Germany is absolutely on the list.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get into Street Sound.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yes, Taste Made TV. Tell us a
The
little bit
show
about
my daughter,
how
it's so weird. My daughter wants to constantly binge this show. She's 5 and a half. Wake up in the morning, getting dressed for school. What do you want to put on? I want to watch Street Some. Like,
Your number one fan. Look at
I guess so, But yes, it's such a great show. I earned a new AKA Jermaine Bourdain.
okay. Okay. I like that. I like that.
But
Wow.
yeah, street style. I'm traveling the United States. I'm hitting different food cities and linking up with different foodies that will take me through the city, introduce me to the city through food, and
Okay.
teach me about the city through food. But also, we get to know each other a lot during that. So it's not just like a food and wine show. It's a show about people and stories.
Mhm.
It's just that food and wine are a way to tell those stories. So people will not just learn about our amazing and interesting guides in each city. They'll
Mhm.
learn about me. They'll learn about wine. And it's a completely different take. It's like wine and food are just characters on the show, just like me, just like the city.
Now, how did you choose your cities? Did you choose those, the network, or how did that come about?
Oh, well, the Tastemade team is awesome. They have such a really I love them. That they're straight family, great production team. It's like a big group thing. When I first came on, there were a lot of cities that they had in mind, and it was just we just all gave input.
Okay.
New Orleans was on there. I was a little sad when I saw. I
Oh,
was sad and surprised that New Orleans
you.
didn't make it. I know. I was like, we're not going to New Orleans, but we're going to Savannah. What's that about? And then Savannah was like one of my favorite cities. I had a great time there. I was so pleasantly surprised. But
Mhm.
I think that was one of my favorite things about the show is where I personally grew a lot during the taping, and you can actually watch from the first episode to the last
Mhm.
and see that development. It's not just each city you're talking about the city and that's it. There's a through line and a storyline that develops as the series goes on.
Wonderful. So, season one, what cities did you touch this time?
Season one, so I had we started out in New York, San Francisco, Savannah, Chicago, Houston, and Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, plans for season two in the works?
Well, you know what? Everybody just gotta keep hitting up Taste Man and saying, like, yo, what's up with season two? No, I'm pretty sure season two is on its way. I've already heard confirmation on it being brought over to other streaming networks. So you're gonna see
Wonderful.
this on like Hulu and Amazon and all those streamers shortly. So I see season two happening, but even just aside from that, other shows developing. It's gonna 2024 is gonna be a fun ride.
Wonderful. Awesome. So let's get a little bit into some trends, right?
Mm,
I was saying as we were preparing, Rosé was this big trend years ago. But what are you seeing on the horizon? What are we going to be looking for? And it can be from wine styles, wine accessories, just
Mm,
anything to make that wine experience pop.
mm. A few things that I'm seeing. I have noticed if I have to identify one trend, one, I do think that wine is going to be getting a lot more cultural.
Okay.
I'm seeing that like from the top to the bottom, that is something that's being identified as that has been an issue.
Okay.
So I think there'll be a bit more of an emphasis on the cultural aspects of wine, but I also find that people are really loving Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
I see that
Hmm.
becoming a bit more popularized. Personally, I love it. I feel like amongst wine professionals, a lot of people have been love Shannon. And it's always like, hey, I'll have some Shannon. The response is always, oh, I love Shannon. Like that's a thing. I don't know if you've heard that too, but that's a thing. So I can totally see that as something that's going to be growing a lot more. But I do really feel that cultural experiences, like after what we did in Burgundy last fall, I heard that there's like a tour company that's now putting together a big hip hop concert in some airfield in Burgundy. Like I think that
Just
I
trend
think
setting again. Look at
I
us.
think, I don't mind. I don't mind,
You
what I'm saying?
know,
Just pay homage. I
mhm,
don't mind.
mhm.
Just give me
Setting
a
the
royalty or two.
standard.
It's all good.
I know that's right.
But no, I do think that there's going to be a lot more emphasis on helping people understand the beauty in wine culture, because it's beautiful. This is how people speak for their entire family's name, like through
Mhm.
that expression, and to understand that it is art and that there is emotion in just the way that something tastes is I feel that's going to be highlighted.
Awesome. So speaking of that, I want to have you just share for a few minutes some tips or some advice or some gems that you've learned for, you know, I know for myself, right? I had my first probably glass of wine at age 30 in Italy, right?
Mm,
Because again, wine wasn't present necessarily in my home, and then slowly built that appreciation. But I think we're at a point now when it comes to, Black homes of color, it's probably being introduced a little bit earlier now, or they're being
mhm,
around it. So there's so many wonderful careers that you can have in wine, from, making the wine to being a vineyard manager to education, all that stuff. What are some, any gems or advice for someone that's like, you know what, I want to pursue a career in wine, but I don't know where to start, don't necessarily know what I want to do in the
mm.
industry.
That is a great question. So first, and I had this question with someone recently. We had a panel about this specifically, called "I'm a Hustler, Baby."
Okay.
And the thing, one of the connections about wine and hip hop is the entrepreneurial spirit that exists within that. Whether you're in a Assam that's selling on the floor, or you're in wine PR, or you're in sales at a wine store, there's always a certain hustle involved, because so many people in this business have side hustles.
Hmm.
A SOM is always maybe a consultant or a buyer for someone else, or so that said, um I think that people should first dial into where they feel that they connect with wine.
Okay.
Always go back to what you feel is unique to you and where you feel more comfortable. What are the things that you would do for free? So on this panel, what I did is I had a group of professionals that represented different roles in wine. People, when they think about a job in wine, they only think about a sommelier or maybe a winemaker, but you have writers, you have content creators,
Hmm.
you have there is hotel hospitality. There's so many different aspects to being involved in the wine industry. So having people tell those stories, I thought was interesting. I had a conversation with a woman, and we were just discussing like what she had, the same question, not sure where to start. And I just talked to her about what she was interested in and what she liked to do and where she fell in through wine, what she would do for free. And one of the things she talked about a lot was travel and maybe wanting to put together like a travel experience. I'm like, okay, well, go to hotel and hospitality school,
Mhm.
because there is where you're going to acquire the fundamentals on being able to put these sorts of things together. But at the same time, there are no rules. Find your way to do this in some way that's unique to you. There are lots of people that are organizing these sorts of tours. Take a lower paying job at one of them so that you can learn about how that business. Something that's very important is when you want to start a business, you don't want to spend your money to learn. Work for someone else that's doing it, even if, and that's why internships exist, but not everyone can afford to take an internship. This is where getting a second job comes in, like, and that's just the reality of what it is when you want to move up in life. When I started in the wine business, I was going to school at night and I was working during the day. you
Okay.
know um and ultimately it's not like I was getting paid a lot of money to go to that job.
Mhm.
And I had so many colleagues that would be, oh, they don't pay us enough, I felt underpaid. In my mind, everything costs something to learn, so I'm not just focused on that little $10 an hour I was getting. I
Mhm.
was thinking about what I was learning and the skills I would be able to put on top of
And
that.
look at you hosting hip hop and
Yeah.
birthday.
But and it's always just dialing back and being as much of yourself as you possibly can. Put as much of yourself as you can into what you'd like to achieve. And you have to have that mission and reason to want to do it. When I mentioned before about wanting to change the perception of Black men in America, this is something that I've been doing for the longest, even before I even understood what this looked like, just because of the space that I was in.
Right.
Back in 2009, I had not a podcast, an internet radio show on Live 365 called
I remember.
so Live
Yes,
365, so you know
yes,
what era I'm talking about.
yes.
I
Oh
had an
my
internet
goodness.
radio show called Stogel, which was it was an acronym for stereotypically thugged out genius on the low.
Mm.
Right? Now, when you think about that and what I'm doing with wine and hip hop, this is just another iteration of that. And so I say all that to say things take time, right? I was working on that in 2009. It's
Wow.
2024 right now.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't getting paid to do that. I had to make my money to survive through other things, but that doesn't mean I stopped trying and refining my idea because I believed in it. And that's me. This is me. This is how I express myself. It's just about finding the way that you express yourself that will connect, and then connecting the dots so that you can afford to create a life for yourself. But you're not always going to be able to just say, hey, I want to have a clothing brand. Now I start this clothing brand and I'm making $1 million. It don't work like that. Your
Exactly.
clothing line's gonna be in the red for many years, buddy. So so strap up and find another way. you
Absolutely. And like
know,
you're saying, hard work, right? Because
that's
you've
true.
been grinding for so long, and then here, and then not that you haven't been, but definitely things are really starting to come, you know, those seeds are coming up now, which
Oh
is a beautiful
yes.
thing. So you got is longevity in this business for real. Definitely in the
Yes.
wine business is about longevity and putting in work and staying
Exactly.
there. So
Exactly. No, I'm
awesome.
super excited. And the I try to level up every 6 to 9 months. That's the way my mind works. I wanna be coming with something fresh and dynamic and grabbing every
Mhm.
6 to 9 months. So this year I'm really excited, not just more street sign, more shows and different platforms, but also we're taking a more hands-on approach and directly integrating wine concepts into hip hop music. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in the studio with artists. I'm working with people. I'm getting them to mention wines in the
Nice.
raps. I'm rapping myself. I'm talking on top of the tracks.
Look at you. So you're
2024.
becoming that hip hop star that you had dreamt of, huh?
The funny thing is that is because of Street Sop. I had zero plans on ever rapping again. Like I never stopped writing. That was a thing. I always wrote as just a hobby for fun. And I
Mhm.
realized that I would write when I was dealing with hard times. And I wrote best when I was dealing with hard times. So, I mentioned my mom passing and everything. So when she was sick, the last lucid conversation I had with her, I wrote one of the most amazing raps I'd ever written. And it wasn't about my mom, it wasn't about anything. It was just a dope rap. And I usually write very slowly. It's like, but this rap was like just a stream of consciousness. I was just
Mm.
writing down, and it was a long rap. And then I'm like, okay, well, it was fun. So I kind of kept writing just for fun. And then I had enough to where I said, all right, I'm going to record this stuff, and I'm going to just put it on SoundCloud on a private link and send it out to my friends and family.
Mhm.
Now, years go on, more things start going on, and I continue writing. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the album out on like iTunes, but then I'm just not going to promote it. I'm not going to tell anyone's out, and I'll tell them like down the line later. And if people find it, they find it. Now I start recording Street Psalm, and the Chicago episode, I was my city guide was an artist, and
Okay.
we were talking about art. Her art was influenced by the breakup of her engagement.
Okay.
And so it triggered me to think about how the pain that I've dealt with has sparked me to be a better writer, and has sparked my art, and is usually a fuel, even though I'm not even talking about the stuff I'm dealing with in the raps. And she was just like, yeah, you should do it. And, the whole Street Psalm series, they were trying to get me to dig into my past.
Mhm.
And the next city was Houston, where I
Yep.
was going to be doing a wine pairing with Bun B in the studio. So they had to find a way to place me in the studio. And they were like, you talk about rapping all the time. Would you be down to like write the theme song for Street Side? I was like, nah, I'm not doing that, because I don't
Wow.
want to be Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like, this is the first time people are seeing me now. I didn't want to be like the rapping sommelier. I didn't want to do that. So I so I was like, I don't want to do that. And they were like, look, you talk about hip hop so much. If no one's ever heard you rap, how will people know you legit?
Mm.
You know what? That makes a very good point. Okay, I'll rap on the show. That's it. And I destroyed it on the show. And contacts and friends that I'd had while I was taping and told them about that. Then I let them hear it, and they're like, yo, dude, like you. So one of my good friends, a guy named Jojo Brim, he's one of the senior vice presidents at Warner Music Group. And he's someone that's assisted me in now in my music career, and making sure that things happen the way that it should. But the thing is, I didn't stop rapping because I couldn't. I stopped rapping because I didn't like the rap business.
Okay.
So I'm still in the wine business. I can still enjoy the fruits of rapping if
Gotcha.
I'd
So let
like.
me ask you, if you had who is one artist you
Mm.
would love to be in the studio with?
Oh man. Well, my heart, I have to say Jay-Z, just
Okay.
because a Jay-Z track is like, and Jay-Z wine, like, but if I had to pick like today, if you said right now, pick up the phone, I'm gonna call him, he's going in,
Mhm.
it'll be Nas. Like,
Okay. Okay. So
Nas
New
has
Yorker.
been, oh,
Okay.
100%. He's been recent, a lot of the resurgence in my writing, like he's been an inspiration in watching the way that he structures his
Mhm.
raps. But not just that, Nas is 50 years old and dominating hip hop, not in like controlling culture, not just in a controlling cultural space, because who held it down for the 50th anniversary like Nas,
Mhm.
right? 50 years old, just dropped another album on his 50th birthday. And I think he dropped 2 albums that year, if I'm not mistaken, still being nominated for Grammys. Like, but he's been at the top of the rap game since the day he came out in 93,
Mhm.
which is incredible. So gotta give, it would be Nas. If someone said get in the studio today, Nas.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Jermaine, this has been fun. This has been a fun conversation of bringing together hip hop, music, and wine. So, thank you, thank you. Tell everybody where they can find you, follow you.
You can follow me on Instagram at Real Wolf of Wine, or follow Wine and Hip Hop Show at Wine and Hip Hop Show. But yes, thank you so much. This has been amazing, amazing interview. And thank you so much for your patience with everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And wishing you all the best in 2024.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.